wouldn't have a startup that would qualify in maybe 6 months, maybe 1 year, even if it's 2 years or 3 years. The point is, do you know what you ought to be doing today? Do you have a roadmap towards you becoming globally attractive? And that's what we focus on the eMigr8 platform, helping you to become globally attractive. We focus on your tech-enabled business and your tech-enabled profile. We help you discover different visas, different pathways to relocation and settlement in countries like the UK, Canada, France, Australia, and several other countries of the world. So welcome to this edition of eMigr8 Open Day. We have gone live and we are live now. Today's edition, we are focused on the Canada Startup Visa. That's what we'll be discussing today. We will touch on the different other visas available and the different packages available on the eMigr8 platform, but we are focused mostly today on the Canada Startup Visa. But as I said, if you're a beginner in the room, please don't go anywhere because there's a lot of information for you as well. If you haven't even started your startup journey at all, there's a lot of information that you would find useful around building your startup, around how you should build your startup, around what success looks like, and for you to be able to then set goals for yourself, set a roadmap for yourself towards you becoming globally attractive. But if you're particularly a startup founder in the room today, and you already have a successful startup in your different local economy, we have audience members from Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, and several African countries, and some Asian countries as well, and the UK. If you already have a startup successful in those economy, we are particularly targeting this edition of eMigr8 Open Day at you because you may already be qualified for the Canada Startup Visa, and you may want to look at the Canada Startup Visa as maybe one of your options for relocation and settlement, if that's something you are looking at. As I mentioned earlier, if you haven't done so already, share to your social network to say the session has started. Share with your social network to say these opportunities are here because there's someone around you that may likely need to hear what we have to say today. eMigr8 is your tech-enabled pathway to relocation and settlement. As you've joined, please let us know where you're joining from. What city, what country are you joining from? Are you a startup founder? Introduce yourself. Tell us about what you are building. Tell us about what you're currently doing. If you work in corporate, tell us what you currently do. It's an opportunity to network as well with the community, with other members of the community. Today's session, we will start to just share a bit around what eMigr8 is and also what eMigr8 is not. And then we'll go into the session proper around going global with the Canada Startup Visa. We have coaches from global startups, Marcel and JP, who will be sharing a lot of information around the Canada Startup Visa and how it affects you and what you ought to be doing in terms of the Canada Startup Visa and in terms of the opportunity. They also have updates for you as regards some changes that has gone on with the Canada Startup Visa in the year 2024. We will also talk about the eMigr8 Tech Visa app. We will talk about some of the opportunities that we do have on the eMigr8 platform. For example, if you're in the UK, we have the Settle in the UK as a tech talent package that we do have on the eMigr8 platform. And if you wait till the end of this session today, we do have a gift for you. And so you may want to consider making sure you stay tuned to the very end of the session. And if you're watching the replay video, same thing as well. If you watch this to the end, we do have a gift for you. I'd like to mention that we've done quite a number of eMigr8 Open Days in the past, and many of these are recorded. You can find the videos on our YouTube channel. You can find the videos by simply searching eMigr8 and put whatever visa opportunity that you're looking at. We focus on tech-enabled visa pathways at this moment. Today's edition, however, we will be zooming into the Canada Startup Visa. If you haven't done so already, get the eMigr8 app. It's in the different stores. It's also available on the web, and that's where you may want to start from. If you use that app, it unlocks a lot of different opportunities for you. We do have this package as well, settle in the UK as a tech talent. If you're looking at the UK, this package is something you may want to look at. We have a number of upcoming sessions for the eMigr8 Open Days coming up. UK Innovator Founder Visa, UK Tech Nation Visa, Global Talent Visa, and several others that we will be talking about in future editions of eMigr8 Open Day. We have Australia Global Talent Visa session coming up very soon. We have a UK self-sponsorship visa session coming soon. We have a drill down session. This is a paid session for the UK Global Talent Visa coming soon, and several other sessions that are beneficial for the eMigr8 community. But then let me tell you for a moment what eMigr8 is all about. What we do at eMigr8 is to help you become globally attractive. And so, yes, for many people in the room, for some of us in the room, you may have come because you're interested in one visa opportunity or the other, but that is actually a side effect of a bigger objective for us as eMigr8 Tech Visa. Our bigger objective is that if you are globally attractive, you have options. You have options of staying in your home country and continuing to build. You have options of staying in your home country and working globally, remotely. And you also have options of moving from one jurisdiction to the next. And the reason is very simple. Many forward-thinking countries of the world realize that the current battle is no longer about oil, it's about talent. Forward-thinking countries of the world want the right talent to actually be in their jurisdiction, for them to live, for them to work, for them to build their innovation, for them to bring their ideas, because those jurisdictions will benefit at the end of the day. They would get taxes, high taxes in some cases. You'll be able to create employment. You'll be able to build their ecosystem. And so the truth is that nobody is doing you a favor for these visas to be available. Ultimately, it's a net gain for each one of these jurisdictions. And that's what we focus on the eMigr8 platform, to say, if you are globally attractive, different countries of the world will want you. And globally attractive could be your tech-enabled profile, you as an individual, or it could be your tech-enabled business. And tech-enabled business will usually be your startup. In fact, today, our focus is on the Canada Startup Visa, which is a visa that is for you if you are a startup founder with a startup that is already successful. So unlike the UK Innovator Founder Visa, which is available to you if all you have is just a business plan, the Canada Startup Visa requires that your startup already exists, I believe, and it's already having some traction. And our coaches in the room today will share a lot more for you as regards that session, as regards the Canada Startup Visa in a moment. In terms of eMigr8, our services cover information, general inquiry, coaching, and holding, self-directed roadmap, and even helping you to get to where you are, to where you want to be. It gets better because we run a freemium platform. Many of what we do on the eMigr8 platform is actually done at no cost to you, free of charge. Over 80% of what we do on the platform is actually free of charge, starting with the eMigr8 Tech Visa app. As I mentioned, if you haven't downloaded it, many of these free offerings will be channeled through the eMigr8 Tech Visa app over the next few months. Information and inspiration, the eMigr8 communities are available. We do monthly open day with a lot of information. We have introductory video, we have open coaching session, and we even do some one-to-one coaching sessions at no cost to you. Now, these are short inquiry sessions, about 10 minutes or thereabouts. We are limited to one per individual, but the point is those can be really, really valuable. We advise that before you do the one-to-one sessions, please use all the other things available at no cost to you. The reason is because we want you to make the very best use of the different coaches' time when you're having the one-to-one session. Don't go to that session and say, what is Canada Startup Visa? We have the open day to help you answer that question. You have Google to help you answer that question. Go to those sessions looking at your own unique circumstance, and then the coaches are able to mentor, guide, and give you some direction as regards what you can do for your own unique circumstance. And that's for the one-to-one sessions. This session today as well is available for you to ask questions, and we have the chat room open for you to ask questions, as many as possible, and we'll take as many of those questions as possible today. On the premium side, we do have a premium community, eMigr8 Circle, and we have a number of premium packages available that you can take a look at from the eMigr8 platform. From the move to the UK as a global talent, to move to the US as a global talent, to the self-start UK route, which is the UK self-sponsorship, settle in the UK, and several other options that are available that you can pick from on the platform. Join the community if you haven't done so already. The community gets really busy from time to time. We share success stories in the community as well. And you should share, like, comment, and so on. The links are on the screen. And also, if you use the app, at the moment, we are running a promo to say if you do use the app for 7 days, if you have a 7-day streak on the app, you would unlock a short coaching session available to you. So if you haven't done so, the app is where to start from. We will just talk to you briefly about some of our partners and also partner services available within the eMigr8 ecosystem. eMigr8 is incubated by a company called Bincom Dev Center. And within Bincom Dev Center, we do have a tech talent development program called the Global Tech Program. Global Tech Program will help you to learn skills, gain experience, and gain exposure in the field of technology. If you're an absolute beginner looking to join the field of technology, this is a good program to look at. But if you're also an intermediate level, and you're looking for a program that can help you move from where you are to where you want to be from a tech skill perspective, this is highly recommended. This is one of the examples of the program. It's a 3-month subset of the program. The full program is 1 to 2 years, but a subset of it is just for 3 months, and that gives you tech training, tech career coaching, tech apprenticeship program with work reference, and so on. This is available in the UK at the moment, and this is also a pathway to landing some tech visas. Bincom mentoring platform is available. If you are highly experienced in your field, one of the ways to show yourself as globally attractive is by mentoring, and you can do that on the mentoring platform. We do have Labs by Bincom that helps you to build startup. It's a pre-incubator program. It will help you to build because the best way for you to learn how to build a startup is to actually build a startup. And this pre-incubator program, Labs by Bincom, will help you do that in a group of 3 to 10 people who also are looking at the same objective. We do have our tech career coaching service. This is available for the UK, for Germany, and recently also launching for Canada. And this is tech employment and recruitment services for individuals, helping you to land your next role faster, building the right relevant experience in your target country, connecting you to tech recruiters, and then also in the UK specifically, jobs that will come with work visa sponsorship. This is the lay of the land. It's just like a landscape. If you want to do so, take a screenshot of this slide. What this slide shows are just different tech visas available that you may want to look at. You may want to ensure that you are familiar with, understand their requirements, and in some cases, maybe target that as well. On the startup, and we've sort of categorized some of these visas in terms of what they are looking at, from talent to startup to work-based to temporary visa, digital nomad visa. And today's session, we are focused on the Canada startup visa. Unlike the UK Innovator Founder Visa, this one requires you to have done some work on your startup. So with the UK Innovator Founder Visa, they are happy for you to use a business plan that is viable, that is adjudged as viable, innovative, and scalable. With the Canada Startup Visa, you need to actually have a startup that has started having traction, particularly in your own economy. There's a lowest common denominator for all these visa options, and it is that be globally attractive. If you are globally attractive, you will have options. And those options are what we are presenting to you on the eMigr8 platform. Those options are what we're helping you discover on the platform. Those options are what we are coaching and holding and guiding you with on the platform. And also when you do move, we're also working on helping in terms of you being able to settle and things like that. eMigr8 does not offer immigration nor legal advice. We do work with immigration consultants, we work with lawyers, but we do not offer legal advice on the platform. The reason is that that's not our unique selling point. our unique selling point is everything that you need, the ecosystem that you need as regards being globally attractive, as regards being inspired to aspire for these opportunities, as regards a roadmap and handholding for you to be able to get there. On the eMigr8 platform, we currently focus on pathways that leads to settlement. We currently focus on pathways that allows you to move with your family. And we focus on pathways where a beginner, absolute beginner, can actually plan over a period of time. For now, we are focused on just tech-enabled opportunities. We are working hard to actually expand eMigr8 in the near future, but at the moment, we are focused on the technology industry, but gradually we are expanding. And so we do have a package, which is the UK self-sponsorship route, which isn't limited only to technology companies, but we are still a tech-enabled platform. For many of the opportunities, what we do is we discuss in depth in the likes of the eMigr8 Open Day, allowing you to be able to ask questions. And during today's edition, we have coaches and we also have a success story team who would be sharing and inspiring our community today. And I would say a big thank you for them joining today. Also, you may want to take a look at this. It's the eMigr8 Tech-Enabled Visa Landscape. And what we did, our team did with these documents is that they looked at many of the visa opportunities that I showed a moment ago and some that we did not even show. And they drilled down into the pathway, qualification criteria, the roadmap for getting there, the cost, and so on, and put that in a well-researched document that we are really proud of. The team are currently working on the 2024 edition of the same document at the moment. My point is that there are quite a number of resources available for you within the eMigr8 ecosystem. And so if you're saying, oh, I don't yet qualify, what we believe you should be doing is that you should be planning. You should build yourself a roadmap and gradually work with your roadmap to get to from where you are, whether you're a newbie, whether you're a beginner, whether you're intermediate, whether you're expert, to the level of being globally attractive, helping you to qualify for the different visa opportunities that we've talked about. Today's session, as I mentioned, we are focused, and I'll be calling on Marcel in a moment, we are focused on the Canada startup visa. That's for today's session, but don't tune off to say I'm a beginner, they're talking over my head and so on. Don't do that. What you should do is that start noting down the things that you should do today so that you would qualify in the near future. Look at these opportunities and many more that are available to you within the eMigr8 platform and then within the eMigr8 community. So you're welcome. As I mentioned, for those just joining, if you wait till the end of this session today, we do have a gift for you, and we will share that gift when we get towards the end of the session. Also, if you're watching the replay video, we have a strong audience on YouTube as well. Same thing applies. If you watch this till the end, we do have a gift for you. You're welcome to eMigr8 Open Day. If you have questions, don't wait till the presentations are done. Drop your questions in the chat. I do have a number of questions from the community already. Hopefully we'll get through all of them. But if you do have questions for the live audience, please drop it in the chat. If you are watching the replay video and you do have questions, drop it as a comment. Somebody on the team will call the attention of the coach or coaches to the question, and then they will try and get an answer to you as quickly as possible. So you're welcome, and thank you for joining us in this edition of eMigr8 Open Day. Marcel, JP, Tim, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your time. We do appreciate you. Over to you now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. But in the meantime, Marcel, if you can upload the presentation. Yeah. I want to introduce myself, then Marcel and Tim will introduce themselves and Global and the SUV, the Startup Visa Path. It's great to be here once again. Last time we met with Bade and the eMigr8 community, we were still LATAM startups. Our origins are in Latin America, but now we're here in Toronto, we have a global scope. So now we're global startups. So Marcel is gonna dig deeper into that. And yeah, we're looking forward to answer all your questions, have a great conversation, and of course, grow our network outside of Toronto, becoming globally. So thank you, Bade, so much. And I'll leave you with Marceli and Tim, one of our alumni from Startup Visa, to explain a little bit better about the process, the requirements, and what does it take to, succeed in the Canadian tech business landscape.
Yeah. So thank you all for coming today. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here. So the way that we are doing today, it's more like give you general information about global startups and also the startup visa. My name is Marcel. I'm the program coordinator here at Global Startups. And after I do like the whole like general information, Tim, one of our companies part of our programs, he will be here just to guide you through his journey. So yeah, let's begin. Oops. So Global Startups, we are an accelerator based here in Toronto. We only work with international companies that wants to expand to North America using Canada as starting point. Different from other accelerators, we only work with international companies or newcomers or new Canadians. So this is our differentiation point here in the market. And we are one of the designated organizations that can provide the letter of support, one of the requirements for the Startup Visa program. We already help more than 200 startups in our community. We have two unicorns, one from Uruguay and another one from Brazil. And the way that we help companies, it's kind of like building a bridge between like emergent markets and mature markets. So we have the knowledge here, we know the ecosystem, so we do it in a way that you can understand and navigate better through your own journey in the country. So we connect you with different partners here in the ecosystem. We connect you with like mentorship and so on, because at the end, our main goal is helping you to grow, right? Our team, we are a multicultural team, so none of us, we are Canadian. So I'm Brazilian myself. Yeah. JP is from Chile. So our team, we have this like international knowledge. We know exactly what is the challenges that people face coming to Canada, not only from a business perspective, but also a personal perspective. So this is one of the things that we can do, is kind of like embracing everyone just to do like the best here in Canada.
And we have a big Nigerian.
Yeah.
Right? Tim from Inventory, he's from Nigeria. So as you can see, Canada, it's a very welcoming place for Nigerian nationals as well. So, well, from Africa in general. So
it is
welcoming in general to all immigrants. So Canada, it's a great place if you want to, grow your business here. Is the place to go if you want to feel welcome and, live in a great place as well, because it's a very, great place to live.
Yeah, definitely. And the other way that we help like the companies is through our community. So we have like community events where we guide like companies through the lessons learned. So we have different ways of doing it. Sometimes we bring, as Tim already was part of it, we are bringing different entrepreneurs from our community just to spread the word and talk about their challenges and so on. So again, you can learn from their mistakes just for you to grow like faster. Another thing that we do is round tables. So we have like different ones depending on the sector. So we bring like different people from the ecosystem, not only like partners, but also like entrepreneurs and so on. How can we discuss better the trend topics that are here in the Canadian market? Demo days. So every single company that comes to our programs, they can be part of the demo days. We have twice per year. So different events that we are doing as well. So it's really good for you to meet people, investors, government officers as well. And the other event that we have that is huge here in Canada, it's our annual conference that happens every June from the last 8 years. Yeah, 8 years. So it's a vibrant community, I would say. And the other thing that we do is we have different programs, but today I'm here to talk to you more about the Startup Visa one, that we have the immigration component like connect to this program, right? So let me just change my screen here. just to guide you through the whole thing. So startup visa program, nowadays, it's a really difficult program to be in. They have really specific criteria and so on. So it's really important for you to understand every single detail around, because again, the government is providing you the permanent residency, but they are expecting a business. So if you don't have like established business in your home country, maybe it's not the time yet for you to come, because again, you need to show some traction for them before coming to Canada. So let me start with the criteria. So startup visa company, startup visa program, it's only for tech-based companies. It's not only technology per se, but you need to have IP strategy around. So mainly of the business that we seeing right now in the tech space, they have like open source products, right? But for this specific program, you need to have intellectual property behind. You need to have like copyrights or patents and so on, just to prove to the government that you have a unique technology. This is really important. The other point is like, you need to have like traction, either through sales or like you already receive investments or grants or even user growth. So you need to have like a business already validated in your home country, just expecting like expansion. So it's not something that we receive like MVPs, because again, it's still like early stage in the government's eyes. Another topic is like, you need to meet the ERCC requirements. So it's good for you to go there and understand exactly what the government website is saying. It's not only about the business, but also like the language skills, also some requirements around the team, the way that you establish your business in Canada and so on. So first of all, I would say that the best thing is going through their website, understand exactly what is their requirements, and then you go through like this whole criteria involved in the acceleration process. Again, English, it's the basics, right? So you need to have proficiency on that. As we are like discussing about established companies, you need to be like financially stable as well. For the first year here in Canada, you need to have 100,000 Canadian dollars to operate your business, which means that like a part of any other cost that you have is not connected with your personal costs or immigration costs and nothing like that. It's just to prove for the government that in your first year, without any revenue, you have money enough to operate your business here in Canada. And then for like the first path of our program, you also need to incorporate your business here in Canada. If you don't incorporate your business here, it's impossible for you to go through the startup visa process, right? So what happens in our programs, it's 1-year program. In the first 3 months, we work with you towards like establish your business here, the paperwork and so on, to make sure that you have the best structure possible to apply for the startup visa program. So after these 3 months, you receive the letter of support and then work on the acceleration process per se. So it's we will have like a strategic session with you to understand exactly where you are and what is going to be your goals through these 9 months that we have ahead. So we can assign you like different coaches and so on, trying to understand exactly what kind of resources you need at this point. And then we can have something tailored for your needs towards your goals. So again, it's not a program for every single company, not only because the requirements it's restrictive, but also it's a really expensive program, right? So The whole program, it's 60,000 Canadian dollars, where we split in two different pieces. The first one, the 3 months that I mentioned you about, is the 15,000, and for the remaining months, it's the 45,000 upfront. This is really important. Another thing that it's important to mention is Startup Visa program. It's for up to 5 co-founders and their families. So it's really interesting because when you apply for the Startup Visa program, even though it's taking like almost it's around 3 years to get your permanent residency, you can apply also for a work permit. So during the time that you are still waiting for your permanent residency, you can go, actually you can come and work in your business just to prove for the government that you have traction and you are like evolving here, like establishing your business in Canada. What else? When you come, like your families also got like visas and so on. So the goals here is kind of like establish the business here, but also bringing your families together. Recently, the government did some like a few changes in the process. Before, like every single accelerator, we can receive as many as like companies we want to, just guiding them through the process and so on. So from April this year, each one of the designated organizations, we can only receive 10 companies per year, which means that we are really like strict in the way that we filter the companies, we select the companies. This is really important for you to know, because again, if you don't have like an established business, if you don't have like traction in your home country, it's gonna be really difficult for you to get a letter of support from any of the organizations here in Canada. Because again, we are going through a different process with the government where we need to provide much more information than before. So this is something that it's really important for you to be aware of, and how you prepare yourself better before going through the whole process. About the program per se, I think that's it. We can cover like questions going forward for sure, but I want to invite Tim to talk with us as well. So Tim was part of like the Startup Visa program. He went through the whole journey and so on. Now he's here in Canada. So Tim, I think that you can like briefly introduce yourself and your business, and then like talk about your challenges in this process, please.
All right. My name is Timothy Ojo. Obviously, I'm from Nigeria. Currently in Canada. I've been in Canada for close to 2 years now. I came on the startup visa, and it's actually one of the best decision, if not the best decision I've made in recent years. Not just for my business and that of my co-founders, but also for my family also. The kids love it here, my wife loves it here. So it looks as if the startup visa was actually for them rather than being for me, you know. So I'll tell you a bit about why we choose to, go through the path of the startup visa. We have a company in Nigeria called Valino System. Valino System is a leading company in the retail and hospitality space in Nigeria. So basically, we cater to businesses like your supermarket, restaurants, bar, hotels, and co, and we've been in operations in Nigeria for over 10 years. And when we're starting out Valino, one of the goals of the co-founder then was that at some point in the future, we're going to make the company global. We're going to take the company global. So after working at the company for a while, we sat up as co-founders, and we decided that it was time to, take the company global. What were the next steps going to be? And one of the things that actually helped us then was global startup. Initially, then it was called LATAM startup, like he said, with origin in Latin America. So we went through the site. The site was very explanatory, was very straightforward. Although at that point also we considered some other countries. We considered Germany. The United Kingdom had something called Global Talent at that point also. So we considered everything. But the one to us that looks very straightforward was the Canadian Startup Visa program. And LATAM Startup at that point was a designated entity. So we reached out to LATAM, we sent some letters, we had some communication, we had to provide some documents about the current company in Nigeria. And after a period of about 2 weeks, we got some feedback from LATAM, and that's how the journey began. In those days, I say in those days as if it was a long time ago. Actually, it's just a couple of years, but that was in 2021, 2022. So it's not very long ago, So we went through 3 phases with LATAM at that particular point. Those phases are very important. Things like market validation is very important, to see how your businesses would work in Canada. And it's not just about validation alone. It also gives us opportunity to kind of fine-tune our businesses also. So it's not a situation whereby they say, oh, you qualify or you don't. They are actually willing to work with what you have to see how it can actually fit into the Canadian system. One of the things they did for us there, which was very important, was survey. Send out surveys to people in our industry who use a product that are similar to us or who are in that particular business, and they are able to give us feedback. With some of those feedback, for example, we're able to modify the solution we have, the business we have, and we're able to come up with something which actually fits into the Canadian environment. After going through that, we submitted our application for our permanent residence. Then also we applied for a work permit. We have 3 founders. 2 of us decided to apply for a work permit. 1 of us applied for just the permanent residence. At the end of within about 4 to 5 months, we got a feedback. We got our work permits, and within 2 to 3 months of that particular period, we found ourselves in Canada. At the beginning, of course, definitely it's a strange place. I've been in Africa all my life. Now I'm in Canada, things are a little bit different. The culture is different, the people is different. So it took a while to learn some of these things. But also thanks to some of the training during the startup program, we can anticipate what those differences will be. And that's one of the reasons why you go through a designated entity. They kind of hold you throughout the whole process. They tell you what to expect, how to approach a lot of things, And when we arrived in Canada, we didn't feel that lonely because in our cohort, then I think we have about 10 to 12 companies, So basically, we're like the first friends here. We meet up from time to time, to discuss business and all that. So we're not like in an unknown land, we also encourage each other. We have a WhatsApp group. We do a lot of things together. We talk businesses together, Part of those people on our cohort, quite a number of them have actually gotten their permanent residence now. Because like she said, it takes about 3 years. For some people, by the 24th month, 30th month, they start getting, something from IRCC. We've also gotten a response from IRCC to say that our PR is in active processing, which is also a very good thing. So we're just waiting for our PR to come up. So on the business front also, Canada is actually a very beautiful place. It's to run your business. The people are usually very friendly, hardworking. Quite a number of people here are also immigrants, which means fitting in is not a problem at all. Everywhere is full of immigrants, and they're always willing to help. The government is also doing a lot to make sure that businesses also thrive in terms of training, in terms of grants, in terms of loans. There are different programs you can actually key into to actually make sure that your business also, succeed and survive in Canada. That's what the government wants when it comes to businesses in Canada. Aside that, also definitely there's been 1 or 2 challenges, but all those are what are challenges that are actually expected. One other benefit is we still run the company in Nigeria, and some of the things we've learned from Canada, we actually take it back to Nigeria also. That's one benefit we didn't think of at the beginning. But that's one of the things that is working for us. As we work on projects here, we think how it can benefit the company in Nigeria, and we're able to, move some of those programs, move some of those projects back to Nigeria. I visit Nigeria at least every 3 months at the most, just to make sure that the company in Nigeria is running well. Then the business here also does not restrict you. You don't have to abandon. If you have a business in your home country, for example, you really don't have to leave that business behind if you don't want to. It's good if you can, fine, but if you don't want to, you don't actually have to. You can actually run both together. There's no restriction on your movement, which means if you need to go back to your home country, you can always go back to your home country. The Canadian government is aware you're a business person. Definitely, that's why I came through the startup visa program. So if you need to go back to your home country, be there for a couple of months, there's that freedom there. That's one of disadvantage to me when it comes to the some of the other visa types, startup visa types, global talents and co. That restriction on movement, you need to spend a certain amount of months in some countries. The startup visa for Canada doesn't have that. You can be anywhere you are at any point in time. So there are a lot of advantage. The company is doing quite well. We're talking to customers. We're gaining customers as the day goes by. We're able to take some of our knowledge back to Nigeria. And each time I look back, like I said, this is usually one of the best decisions that that I've made in recent years. And I believe as businessmen and women, we need to see ourselves as global citizens. Global citizen means you are not actually tied to one country. You can have businesses in multiple countries, businesses in Kenya, businesses in somewhere in Europe, businesses in Canada, which is in North America. You should be able to move freely within those continents, within those business environments. Another advantage is you can have as much as 5 co-founders within the startup program. Each of those co-founders can have as many family members as they want. So there are actually few programs in the world that actually give you that opportunity, under one umbrella. So if you multiply 5 co-founders by a family of 4, for example, that's 20 already under one program. You at least see programs that actually allows you to be able to do that. And if you also look at the fee involved, and you divide by the number of people that fee will cover, you also find out that it's not big at all. It's not much. It's an investment in your future. It's an investment in the future of your family. It's an investment in the future of your business also. And I can definitely tell you, for us, it's definitely worth it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you so much, Tim. But JP, I don't know if you want to say a few words before we go into questions. I see a number of questions in the chat already. I'll be taking a number of those questions. I'll be batching some questions together as well. But JP, I don't know if you want to say a few words before we go into questions.
Yeah, no, I was just answering in the chat Mari's question. And yeah, to close a little bit the presentation, thank you again, Bade and the eMigr8 community. Of course, thank you, Tim and Marceli, for their presentation. And yeah, open to questions now, because I guess you'll have a lot of questions.
A lot of questions.
Even though the information it's pretty clear in the website and all that, but there's always particular personal cases that may be different from others. And I also wanted to highlight the fact that Startup Visa program, it's a government of Canada program. So not any organization can, give that program. So we are part of the designated institutions. If you go to the canada.ca website, the official Canada website, you'll see Global Startups as one of the designated institutions. So it's also good to know that you're working with a trusted, organization with more than 8 years of experience in Startup Visa. So that's also something to highlight, that you'll be working with a trusted partner. So I wanted to close with that and open to the questions for me, for Marcel, for Tim. Yeah. Go ahead, guys. We're here to answer them. So I think Stella has their.
Yeah, I see a number of questions on the chat already, but let me start with one that I've heard a few times when I talk to people about the Canada startup visa. And it's around, I think there was a question on the chat as well, around success rates and all of that. I already know the answer from a global startups perspective, but I think it's also good for the audience to be clear. So I'm aware that global startup has some sort of shortlisting criteria. So it's not just an automatic, if you apply, then you get into the program. But I think the question they have is, when they apply, they get into the program, does that guarantee that they will get a startup visa, or is that at a certain stage? So can they apply without, or what does that process look like generally?
Yeah, sure. The program right now, as you mentioned, we have a selection process in here. But once you are inside like the program, you will receive the letter of support. What is important to highlight is the letter of support. It's one of the 4 requirements from the government. So I would say that, I mean, you are in the program, you are doing your best to prepare your business, but the person that will evaluate your case is the government, right? So, I mean, you are like towards everything, preparing everything, but at the end, the government would say yes or no. So I would say that if you are entering to our program, if you are like select to enter to our program, you will receive the letter of support. But then like for the permanent residency, who will evaluate your case is the government. So that's the reason why we have this 1-year program to prepare the business to succeed. Every single company that goes through our programs, they receive the permanent residency. Because again, we have a really criterious like process just to prepare you for their evaluation.
Okay. And so just to be clear, if you are able to get into the Global Startups Program, which has its own really, really strict requirements, then you would be able to get a letter of support. And that letter of support you are able to take to the Canadian government through the application process to be able to get the permanent residency. And the Global Startup has almost 100% success at the moment, at the point of the letter of, at the point of the application itself. So just to be clear there. But then the next question then for a startup founder in the room is that what do I need to do now? I'm a startup founder. I've got a business that has good traction in my own country at the moment. I'm looking at the relocating. I'm looking at expanding my business globally. What should be my next step?
You go to our website. So we have a waiting list open. So we have a form that you need to fill out with some information about your business, and we will contact you for an interview. So from this point on, we can select the companies and so on. But one important thing is we have 1 cohort per year. And the starting date is September. So the next cohort is gonna be September 2025, and we start like selecting the companies in June. So it's something that you can plan ahead. You can go and apply already for the waiting list, and then we start like evaluating soon.
Oh, fantastic. And so you have it there to say if you are even looking at building a startup, is there a minimum number of years for the startup to exist before they can join your program? What's the youngest startup you've been able to bring into the program?
I would say that like it's not related to like the year that they launched the solution, but it's related to the traction, right? Because sometimes they already are in the market for 3 years, but they don't have traction enough. They don't have any revenue. They are still like figuring out what's going to be the users in the platform and so on. So it's more related to the traction per se than the like for how long you are in the market. But the earliest one, I would say that was like 8 months. So, but they had a really good traction. So it's something that we evaluate all the time.
Yeah, and so to eMigr8 community, I would say you have 1 year. So even if you haven't actually built a startup before, you actually have a whole year for you to start that entire process. But please be aware that, I mean, ultimately, this isn't legal nor immigration advice. This is us just saying there are opportunities out there. And you've heard the success. Tim talking about his own successes of moving his family and also moving the family of his co-founders as well to Canada. Let's talk about the investment budget for a moment. So there are 2 parts to the investment budget. You had mentioned that the startup needs to show that they have at least 100,000 Canadian dollars. For the UK version of this program, it would be per co-founder. And so I wanted it to be clear to the community to say for the Canadian version of this, it's for the entire company, if I'm correct. Or could you please just shed a bit more light in terms of the company investment budget of 100K?
Yeah, sure. It's per business. So again, every single thing that we evaluate in this program, it's for your business, not individually. So going forward in your PR application and so on, the government will ask you about your personal funds. But every single time that we mention things, not only like in this presentation, but also in our website, it's for the business. So for the first year of operation, it's 100,000 Canadian dollars. And then like for the program itself, it's 6,000 Canadian dollars up to 5 co-founders.
Oh, fantastic. And that was going to be my next question, to say the program fee as well. It's not co-founder dependent. So if you have 5 co-founder or you have just 1 co-founder in the business, usually not advised anyway. So if you have 2 co-founders in the business, it's still the same program fee that will suffice. And so that's the second bit. And then I don't know if you have a bit of information around in terms of personal funds that the co-founders needs to be able to show. I don't know if you can speak a bit around that in terms of.
Yeah, the personal funds, I don't know exactly how much it is, but it's in the government website. So depending on like the number of people that you have in your family, the budget, it's different. So it's something that you need to be aware of. But yeah, for this specifically, I think that you can find in the government website, and we can put in the chat. But again, it's one thing is the business, and the other thing, it's your personal fund. So it's something that you need to be aware of the whole thing, because again, the Canadian government will ask you about it.
Fantastic. Something to just mention is that there is a calculator online that you can actually go to. I'm sure somebody will be able to drop the calculator for you to calculate how much you need from a personal fund perspective. And so those are the 3 parts to the investment and all. A question then is that are you sector agnostic in terms of what kinds of startups do you pick? You've mentioned that they have to be technology based, but are you interested in all sectors, or are you specific in terms of specific sectors?
No, yeah, we are sector agnostics. So we have a lot of different partners in the ecosystem to help every single sector. But I would say that the most common ones, it's SaaS-based companies that we are seeing landing here nowadays, because again, it's easy to get traction and so on. We receive a lot of like medtech companies as well, biotech, so agri-tech as well. So again, it's really broad, but at the same time, whatever your like sector is, we can help you with like specific support to understand exactly how to navigate in this specific sector.
Oh, thank you for that. And I'm joining some questions together based on other questions I have here, so that we don't sort of repeat questions. And Tim, we are coming to you. We have quite a number of questions for you as well, but I wanted to do this systematically. Somebody is asking about the Global Talent UK. So just to mention, with the UK Global Talent Visa, the focus is on you as an individual, not your startup. You would, however, need to show that you are a leader in a product-led digital technology company. So unlike the startup visa that is looking at your company, the Global Talent Visa is actually looking at you as a talent. But of course, part of you showing a talent is what you've done within your company. And so I guess this question came when we were talking about the investment budget and all of that. They would be assessing you as an individual with the UK Global Talent. This session today, we are focused on the Canada Startup Visa. In terms of eMigr8 platform, generally, we support all sorts of tech-enabled visa opportunities from Canada, UK, US, France, Germany. Our next eMigr8 Open Day, we have an eMigr8 Open Day coming up around the Australia Global Talent Visa. We have an eMigr8 Open Day coming up, a free session on the UK Global Talent Visa. And we do have a paid session coming up in this October as well for the UK Global Talent Visa, and also a paid session for the UK Sales Sponsorship. All of that in October. But this session today, we are focused on the Canada Startup Visa. So just to mention that. Okay, so Yeah, so I think we've taken this, but I'll just ask the question anyway. Minimum investment with the startup program. We've taken this already, so I think we'll move on to the next question.
I think I wanted to maybe Tim can answer this. Like there's a question around the follow-up support that we have.
Fantastic. So let me just read out the question, and then Tim will come to you for this question. Is there post-accelerator support, customer onboarding, marketing, introduction to investment community, VCs in Canada, several things that are uncertain to some of the founders in the room. So could you speak a bit to that,
Yeah,
Tim?
definitely. I think one of the difficult things for us in our earlier research was like, for example, sometimes I go to UK, I go to Australia, I go to some of those countries. I try to look at the tech ecosystem there, and I found out that it's always like I'm alone. I don't usually know where to start from. But coming through the startup visa program, for example, after finishing our third phase in LATAM, we actually handed over to another accelerator group, from startup to accelerator now, who actually took us through another 6 month period of acceleration, which is a form of training. During that process, we're able to meet a lot of we had a lot of coaches. We have what you call fractional leaders, like a fractional CFO, fractional CTO. Those are people that are CTO, CFO in their right, or CEO in their own right, but actually work with your company on a part-time basis. Those are some of the supports that we got. Marketing, for example, I got a certificate from a University of Conestoga, for example. I didn't pay a single penny. It was also part of the program. That was like a 20 weeks. That was like a 20 weeks program on marketing, very practical program. And from time to time, we also get events that we get invited to. Some of these events are actually very expensive, but sometimes through the startup program, we're able to get tickets. Example of them are things like Elevate, for example, RBCX, for example. Some of those events, I wouldn't be aware of them if I wasn't part of a startup visa program, So being part of startup program had actually opened us a lot of networking. We've had the opportunity to pitch at different events that would normally not be able to walk into on our own, but due to our connection with a startup entity, for example, we're able to go to those kind of events. We're able to pitch. We're able to meet VCs, talk to them, and network with a lot of people all across Canada. So that's one of the advantages you get from being part of a startup visa program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tim. I see a question, and I'm going to come to that question in a moment around explaining the startup visa. But Tim, the question I was going to open you up on, you had started talking about it, but I wanted you to just take that thought forward a little bit. Of course, we will be clear to the audience. This is not immigration advice. This is not legal advice. The question, Tim, is why Canada? You had started talking about it. And you also mentioned that you had looked at different countries, different jurisdiction, in terms of moving your family, moving your business, moving yourself. And you have voted for Canada, at least for now. Maybe we'll bring you back to Lagos at some point. You never know. But could you take the audience through maybe some of your evaluation criteria? I started talking about it, and then why you chose Canada.
Okay, so I'll touch upon two reasons. One of it is with the Canada visa program, for example, all our co-founders can come to Canada all at once instead of individually. If you have gone through something like the UK Global Talent System, for example, or the Tech Nation, for example, that will have been individual assessment. But in this particular case, for example, we are assessed as a group. It means that we are all able to bring our strengths into the system and we're able to contribute to the program. For example, we have people who are good at strategizing. We have a co-founder who is good at presentation, for example. We're all able to shine in areas where we're good at. That's number one. Then two, the level of support the Canadian government is giving to the startup ecosystem is actually far, far, far greater than that you see anywhere else in the world. Canada is a country of immigrants, right? Yeah, it may look like I'm partial, right? But I've actually been to the UK. I know there are some activities going on there. I've been to Germany. I know there's a little bit going on there. But when it comes to Canada, it's on a larger scale. It's like the ecosystem itself is actually integrated into the whole country's culture. That's how it is right now. Everywhere you go, there's support for startup. That's the second thing. Then when you also come to immigration process, for example, I find the Canadian immigration system to be the most straightforward. That's number one. Then number two, the startup visa program is also a PR program from the beginning. You don't have a lot of conditions attached to it, because at the beginning, for example, we put in for our PR, then optionally we put in for our work permit, which means that from that beginning, we're actually expecting a PR. Unlike the global talent visa, for example, where you have to do 3 years first, then after 3 or 5 years, for example, you put in for an indefinitely leave to stay, for example. So this is different. From the beginning, you've put in for your PR. So that's one of the things I also love about it. You know, it's not easy moving your family from one country to another under some type of uncertainty, you know. So the Canada Startup Visa Program has is kind of certain. I'll put it that way. And I'll tell you one thing. Of all the people in our cohort, for example, everybody actually scaled through. You know, so the uncertainty is less. And compared to, I have some friends also that did the UK startup visa, they're all fine also. But most times when we talk, we find out that we are more on a certain path than they are. Because there's always one thing to do for them, another thing to do for them. But in this case, for example, all we're doing is just waiting for the PR to come up.
Okay. So I'm going to go to Marcel, but just to clarify to the audience. So Tim was talking about the UK startup visa. So that particular visa no longer exists. So the UK startup visa did not have a pathway towards settlement, which is what Tim was talking about. Whereas the Canada startup visa does have a pathway to settlement. The UK replaced that visa with something called the Innovator Founder Visa. Just to mention, and eMigr8 supports the UK Innovator Founder Visa too. But today's session, we are focused on Canada. So the question to Marcel, and I'm sure Marcel will be able to clarify this, is, so Tim was talking about the permanent residency, that once you apply for your permanent residency, you can move to Canada, right? And so Marcel, I don't know if you want to speak a bit more around that, because for most of the other visas we talk about on the eMigr8 platform, when you apply for your visa or endorsement, you get the endorsement, then you can move, right? Yeah. But in this case, it's slightly different, and I feel like it may be good to emphasize those differences to the community. The permanent residency application, the work permit application, and then when people can move and so on.
Okay, no, definitely. So first, like when you're part of the program, you receive the letter of support. The letter of support, it's basically with all the information about your business and explaining who are like the co-founders in your company. So let's say that you have like 5 people, but you define that only 3 of them is necessary to come like early in the process. Because as I mentioned, the whole process of getting a PR here under the Startup Visa program, it's around like 3 years, right? So you decide that 3 of them, it's important for them to come early. So in the moment that they are applying for the PR, they can also apply for a work permit. So the work permit depends on like the processing time of your your place of residency. But as Tim said, it took for him like 5 months, right, Tim?
Yes.
So again, you receive your work permit and you can work here in Canada until you receive your permanent residency. So this is really good because, again, with the letter of support, you can apply for both at the same time, like work permit and also like permanent residency. But if you just want to like wait for your permanent residency back home, it's not a problem at all. You just define exactly what is going to be your plans going forward in the moment that you be like receiving the letter of support.
Fantastic. And thank you so much for that. So the question, I think I'm just going to answer this question and then Marcel can add to it as well. So the question was around just explaining the startup visa. So the question was, when you're talking about startup program, are you saying the company can still be in Nigeria and we operate from Canada? So I think the answer is yes and no. And Marcel is going to give a bit more context. But the point is, with the Canada startup visa, as we said at the beginning, this visa is only available to your startup when your startup has grown a bit and has good traction. So this visa is not the one for, oh, I've just started my idea and then I want to apply. No, you need to have some sort of traction. And when we say traction, it means that you have live customers, you've tested your product market fit, your product is actually working really well. Customers are already using your product. You've gone past the MVP stage. Maybe you've raised some investment, but that's not really necessary per se. But the key point is that your product and your company is doing well in the sense of, and then at that point, you can say, we want to take this company global. And that is when the Canada startup visa comes into play. But Marcel, please add to that in your own words.
Yeah, definitely. No, your explanation is really good. But the point is, like, when you have your company, you are already ready just to expand your business to Canada. You need to open a corporation here in Canada. So I would say that you have a headquarter here, you incorporate your company, and you still have your company back home, because again, in the government's eyes, you are like expanding your business. So this is really important. But you need to be a Canadian corporation to go through the whole process. So that's exactly as Bud mentioned to you. You already have your business, there's already traction and so on. You're ready to go to like a different market. You choose Canada, and then you open a headquarter here and goes through the whole process. Because one of like the requirements in the like to fill it to submit all the application, it's having incorporation number in Canada. So you can do it back home, like it's not a problem at all. You can do it online. You don't need to be here to open a Canadian corporation. But yeah, it's one of the requirements of the startup visa, having like a headquarter here.
Okay. Marcel, could you say a bit more around the other requirements as well? So you had mentioned that the letter of support is 1 out of 4 that the government needs, but could you just speak generally around the requirements at this point?
Yeah, sure. So like let's support. The other one is the incorporation here in Canada. So each one of the co-founders, they need to have at least 10% of the shares. So in the moment that you are like putting your corporation together, you need to make sure that they have that. The other requirement, it's the language exam. So you need to have at least CLB 5. Just to go through the whole process. And the other one is the intellectual property. So you need to have intellectual property strategy in place because again, they will look to it because they are looking for unique business to land here in Canada. So if you don't have it, it's going to be really difficult for them to understand exactly why you're trying to bring your company here if they already have like a lot of like same business here established in Canada.
Thank you for that. Tim, we're coming to you on questions around family and taxes and so on in a moment. But Marcel, let me just ask this around working. So my company has traction, but it's probably not enough to be able to pay me. Am I able to work for other companies when I move to Canada, or am I restricted to working just for the company I've founded at that point?
Yeah, it's only for your company, because when you receive your work permit, it's going to be a closed work permit, which means that will come with your company's name. So you can only work for your company. The government is looking for people that want their business to grow. So it's something that you need to have in mind. That's the reason why most of the companies, they are still like running their business back home, because with that revenue, they can kind of like support the company that is being established here in Canada.
Oh, fantastic. And Tim, let's talk about family. Are other family members, are they able to work? Or so unlike the US O1 visa, for example, primary applicants, family members are not, it doesn't cover the family members. But in the case of the Canada startup visa team, are other dependents able to work?
Yeah, so definitely. So the founders and the co-founders will get a closed work permit, which means they'll be able to work for only that entity in Canada. You know, outside Canada, definitely they can have other businesses and other things that they do. The spouses usually get a open work permit, which means they can work for any company that they like. For the kids also, they get study permits, which means they can also go to school. And the school in Canada are actually very, very good schools. And mostly they're also free.
Yeah, they are public schools. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So taxes, people are worried. With the US, you are taxed anywhere you are in the world. Canada, I don't know if you have some experiences around accounting, taxes, some tips that you can give to some startup founders in the room. Just to mention to the audience, this is not accounting advice. This is just Tim sharing from his experience.
Okay,
but you have to navigate any of those.
Yeah, so from my experience, for example, for Canada, for example, definitely they have something called world income, which means you declare your income from other parts of the world. But unlike the US that tax you fully for any income you make anywhere in the world, for Canada it's a bit different. If you've paid if you have an income, let's say from Nigeria, for example, and you've paid tax in Nigeria, for example, you still need to report that income, but they don't double tax you.
Okay. Thank you. I was hoping you would speak about incentives as well. So I'm aware that there are tax incentives
definitely.
for running startups in Canada. So that was actually where I was leading.
Okay, so for example now, okay, it's new to a lot of us from Africa, including me, for example. So basically, like in Nigeria, for example, if you file your tax, whether if you file too low, definitely you pay more. If you file too much, you don't get anything back. But in Canada, for example, there are usually things you get back. One of it is what to call tax returns, for example. On your tax return, for example, you do get tax credit, which means they check your spouse, for example. Is she working? Is she not working? Is she earning up to a certain threshold? If she's not, for example, there are some credit that goes into that. They look at the kids. They're also going to school also. There's some benefit that goes through that also. One of the things that also happen is depending on your level of income, for example, the kids also get some benefits, from the government that are usually paid to them. For example, on your rent also, you get something back on your rent also. They call that trillium or thereabout. Then also, you also get something back also on, they call it carbon tax also. So you get that back. So the thing with Canada is as long as you are within a certain threshold, which a lot of people fall under, you always have one check coming in every other month. Either it's for something on housing benefit, the trillium, something on the carbon rebate tax, or something on the child benefits, or something on your tax. There's always something. So apart from that, there are lots of things. There are grants also for businesses. There are grants to go to school, for example. Maybe your spouse wants to go to school or do something, for example. There are lots of grants for you to be able to do that. There are also lots of loans also to be able to do that also. Of course, loans definitely you pay back, but some of those loans, in fact, most of the loans are actually interest-free loans. Some of them you pay interest on, but interest are very low. Some are interest-free. The grants definitely, most times you don't pay back as long as you meet some certain conditions on the grant. So it's actually a good place to be. They have a system that works for everybody, not just you working for the system. The system also works for everybody. It actually encourages you to survive, thrive, succeed, so that you can also contribute to the country. That's how the country works. Thank you.
And adding to Tim's point, like the grants and so on. The ecosystem here in Canada for entrepreneurs, they are really like supportive. So you have not only like grants that it's kind of like free money from the government, but you also have a lot of like free programs for your company to be in. They have a lot of like different things happening in the ecosystem and so on. If you look for like the government perspective under technology, they are kind of like looking whatever they need in terms of infrastructure, what they need to develop, and then they put a lot of money in different sectors. So for instance, right now, AI is a trend topic here, like whatever we were in the war, but they are looking to like productivity. So let's say that you have some software that it's gonna help like manufacturing companies and so on, just to like improve, like optimize like the whole process in its productivity. They will put money on that. So again, you have a lot of things happening here in Canada that will support entrepreneurs for sure. You just need to understand how to navigate, because sometimes you are like overwhelmed with a lot of information that we have in the ecosystem. So like being like an accelerator, we can help you further in how to assess this kind of like benefits, or even how like to connect with different players in the ecosystem and so on. So this is really important. It's not only like a personal perspective, but for your business, there is a lot of things happening here that help us to grow.
Thank you so much for that. I'll just say to the audience that we're coming towards the end of today's edition of eMigr8 Open Day. I believe we've taken all the questions on the chat and also questions from the community. I have two more questions, and then we have the regular question we normally would ask every coach on the eMigr8 platform that we're coming to in a moment. And so in case you have questions, now is the best time to drop your questions. We can continue the conversation. The Global Startups team have put their LinkedIn on the chat, for example, so you can actually connect to Marcel, to JP, and also to Tim. And so I'll just go through those two questions, and then I'll come to the final question we typically ask within eMigr8 community generally. So the question was around funding, to say I don't yet have institutional investors in my own country, maybe not even angel investors, but I do have a bit of money, family money, and all of that. Is that something that can be used to fund the startup, or is it a case where I need to have raised that funding from my ecosystem somehow?
No, it's fine. Could be like family funding, because like here in Canada, for you to be like to receive investments, you need to be a Canadian corporation. So which means that if you are like an African company coming here, like in looking for investments, it's not like you won't be able to get like these investments to start off your business. So again, the money that you have back home, even though like if it's like family money, family investors and so on, is not a problem at all. If they are putting money in your company, it's okay, because again, they are trying to help you to generate some traction on that.
Yeah, and good that you mentioned about it, because we also have a program that doesn't require the immigration part. It can even be taken online, and I'm posting it on the chat. Oh yeah, sorry, we're in the same room, so that's why I muted myself. But the thing is that if you're looking to know how to get investment and grow your sales in Canada from wherever you are in the world, we have a program as well that's online, that's less economic commitment than the startup visas. It's also a good way to start. So I just posted it, and we're opening.
It's a really good point, because again, if you are still in early stage, but you already have in mind that you want to come to Canada to like expand your business here, like going forward, maybe it's better just to go through this program that will give you like tools to understand better how to thrive and how to better prepare your company before landing.
Yeah. So I was going to go to co-founder issues, but I think it's a good time to ask to just share a little bit more around global startups in terms of other programs, because we do have a global audience ultimately, and there may be other programs that they are interested. And then Tim, I'm going to come to you as well to talk about your company. Your customers may be in the community, your customers may be watching as well. So if you want to speak briefly about your company team, this will be a good time. So let's go to that before we talk about the co-founder issue, which was going to be my next question. So Marcel, you're already talking about some of your other programs, or maybe JP. Do you want to share about generally what Global Startup does? Because we know it's not only about Canada Startup Visa ultimately.
Exactly. So we have different programs here that depend on like your business, the stage of your business per se. So startup visa, it's for those that already have traction and they are expanding to North America using Canada as a starting point. But we also have like the investment and sales growth program that it's only for those that wants to understand better how to thrive in terms of like investments here in Canada and sales, how you prepare your company to access this kind of like resources here in Canada. This specific program is not related to any immigration pathway, but again, it's another option for you to understand better what is happening here. The other program that we have for international companies, it's the boot camps. The boot camps, it happens like once or twice per year. It's a partnership that we have with different municipalities here in the Ontario region. It's the region itself. So the next one that we will have, it's Hamilton Niagara. So it's the Hamilton Niagara region, like showing off what kind of resources and support they can offer for international entrepreneurs. So what we do, it's kind of like setting up a week. It's in person. So we do like some visits in their ecosystem and understand better how we can get like new connections and partnership just for them to establish in that specific region. This program, it's for free, but it's in person. So for the next one, we won't have like any spots available, but it's something that you can stay in touch, and maybe for next year, it's something that it's gonna be interesting for you to come and then like see for yourselves how the ecosystem works.
Thank you so much for that. And Tim, your customers may be watching or maybe here right now. What does your business do?
Okay, so as mentioned earlier, I'm CEO at eMigr8. eMigr8 is an easy-to-use cloud-based inventory management solutions that use machine learning to save retailers time, effort, and money. So basically what we do is use machine learning to accurately predict when a retailer, for example, should stock their product, what quantity they should stock, and when exactly they should do it in such a way that they are cash flow positive. So basically, we use machine learning to do inventory for retailers because from our experience, inventory is one of those things retailers don't like doing. It's one of the boring part of their job. So you can actually outsource it to a machine learning model to actually do that and actually predict to you what you are supposed to buy. Thank you.
Oh, wow. And you do this in Canada and Nigeria from what you had mentioned earlier, correct?
Definitely, yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
So, and they are looking to expand to other parts of Africa as well. So if you're in South Africa or other places, Tim, you should pay me for marketing, right?
Definitely.
Right? We can export this technology to anywhere in the world as you need to. All right, cool. So let's talk about co-founder issues, and I think that will be the last question before the final words. And co-founder issue question, let me paint the scenario. So we support a few visa opportunities where if your co-founder is messing up, it may affect the entire company. It may jeopardize the ability for the others to be able to settle. Specifically would be the UK self-sponsorship route. This is one of the routes that we currently support on the platform. And one of the things we want is that if you're coming on that particular route, ensure that these are co-founders you trust who are ready to work with you in the long haul, so that you don't get to year 3 of a 5-year, 6-year journey, and then company has scattered and you have to look for other routes. So that's the background of this question. And so the question is, what if my co-founder after 2 years says they are not doing again, they want to leave, they are not working in the startup again? Marcel, what would happen in that case? And the permanent residency is in the out. What happens to the startup at that case?
Yeah, it's going to be a problem because it's the same as UK. So once we issue the letter of support, you cannot change any detail around just because otherwise we'll jeopardize the whole case. So for instance, in the middle of the process, like during these 3 years, one of the co-founders, they just want to like step back. It's going to be a problem because the whole case will be rejected. So I would say that you need to choose really well your co-founders because it's a marriage. You need to keep with them until the end of the process. at least.
Yeah. Thank you, Marcel. Succinctly said. Do you have some advice as regards co-founder management? What people should do
Yeah,
maybe
I would say
differently
that,
and things like
yeah,
that?
it's what we are seeing right now. It's more like each one of your co-founders, you need to have like skills that it's a kind of like it's additional skills, yes, complementary skills for each one of you. Because again, once you are here, you will face a lot of different challenges. So each one of you will need to have a really strong background in whatever you are like doing, because you will be like the responsible of like going forward and so on. For instance, if you're like the CTO, you have like a lot of different things that you need to understand how it works here. Maybe you need just to evolve the platform and so on. So you need to be really like deep into that. And then like the CEO will be the one like going through like grants or even like investments and so on. It's going to be, it needs to be clear what is going to be each one of the roles, and you need to have a really strong background just to support on that.
Oh. And when the permanent residency is out, is there still and the co-founder is messing up, what can happen in that kind of scenario? So they now have a permanent residency. I mean, they are supposed to still be building their startup ultimately. What could happen in those kind of scenarios?
The only problem is always like the immigration pathway. Once you have the PRs, you can go ahead and redo like the incorporation, just take him off and so on. It's not a problem at all. The point is like you just need to keep together through the whole immigration process.
Okay, and build a successful startup out of it as well.
Exactly.
All right, we're just to time at this point. I did mention that if you stay till the end, we would have a gift for you. And Marcel, JP, and Tim, the question we typically ask every coach that comes on the eMigr8 platform is to speak to 5 categories of our audience. And I'm not sure how you want to take it amongst the 3 of you, but the first category are absolute beginners. They have not even started anything at all in their journey. Second category are intermediate people. So they are the intermediate level in terms of skill and maybe also in terms of their startup. Third category are advanced people, head of CTO of fintechs that are doing millions of dollars in sales and so on, head of products in a different bank and people like that. We do have them in the community eMigr8. So that's the third category. Fourth category would be people that move from their home country to, let's say, the UK on student visa or even Canada on student visa. They are not yet on a pathway to settlement, and they are also looking for, yes, they've relocated, but they are looking for a pathway to settlement. What advice would you have for them? And then finally, for people who are ready to apply, what advice would you have for them? So we will come to that just after I say just a few things about eMigr8, and then also talk about the gift. So if you are with us till this point, you have won yourself a gift. This is only available 1 per person for this particular category of gift, just to mention. And the gift is that you have won yourself a second short one-to-one coaching session with eMigr8 coaches, depending on what pathway that you are looking for. I mentioned at the beginning of this call to say we are only able to afford 1 short coaching session per person, so use it wisely. But we're saying to you now that if you've been here till now, you've actually earned yourself a second coaching session, short coaching session. Now, the way to redeem this gift is to go to any one of the eMigr8 communities. We've shared the link earlier, and I'm going to share the link right now again. Go to any one of the eMigr8 communities and say on that community to say you were part of the October 2nd eMigr8 Open Day and that you have won that short coaching session. What would happen is that the eMigr8 team members will take note of you, and then when you do book on the app or when you do book a second coaching session, it will go through and it will be automatically approved for you. The link to the community is right there on the screen at the moment. And also it will be dropped in the chat by one of my colleagues. So go to any one of the community and just mention to say you have won yourself this coaching session. This is also available to you if you are watching the replay video. It's also available to you as well. Just go to any one of the eMigr8 community and mention that you have won yourself that particular coaching session. It's limited to just one of these per individual. So just to mention that, because we've had a few community members say, oh, I attended 3 eMigr8 open days. Does that mean I've won 3 of this session? No, it's limited to 1. But just to mention that we have another one available, which is that if you use the eMigr8 app for 7 days in a row, you would unlock coaching sessions as well. Now, these coaching sessions are invaluable, we believe, because no 2 individuals are the same. And so you would have unique circumstances. You would have specific questions around your own unique circumstance. This session has been general, giving you a lot of information, and you can find a lot of information online. Do your own research. We are not getting any information here. There's a lot of information online. Marcel and JP shared sites, and some of them are in the comments. It will be in the video description, but they are also in the chat at the moment. Pick up those links, go through them, read them, right? Do your own research, find out other questions, but then you may get to a stage where you then need specific question answered that you may not be able to find answers to, because you then need a mentor, a coach, somebody that has gone ahead, somebody that is familiar with the process to answer that for you based on your unique circumstance. That's when you should be using some of these short one-to-one coaching sessions. Of course, we do have premium offerings as well available on the eMigr8 platform. If you're interested in any of those, you can let us know. But just to recap what we've done today at the eMigr8 Open Day, what we've done is we've shared with you a lot of details about eMigr8, what eMigr8 is, what eMigr8 is not. If you're wondering where to start, download the eMigr8 Tech Visa app and then use that app regularly. Many of the free offerings that we currently do on the eMigr8 platform, we will be doing through the app moving forward. So that's where you want to start from. eMigr8 has loads of successes, over 40 successes across different countries at the moment. And so we're doing very well from our own estimation, and we're working at scaling. And the way we are scaling this is through the app. So download the app is the best way to start. Join the eMigr8 community is a good place to start. Take access to some of the free offerings. And if you're interested in any of the premium offerings or any of the premium packages as well, do let us know. Some of those packages are right there on your screen. One of the ones that we are really pushing at the moment is the Settle in the UK as a Tech Talent package, and you can let us know if you're interested in that. We will be talking about that in subsequent sessions of eMigr8 Open Day. And this is the landscape, as we mentioned earlier. It's coming up. So this is the landscape, and that's just to give you an idea of the different opportunities that are available. Today, we focused on the Canada startup visa. It's not beginner friendly, if I may put it that way, but you can build towards it even as a beginner. Marcel has mentioned that they take in cohorts on an annual cycle, and then the next cycle would actually be in September next year. Applications will open in June or July next year. And so even if you haven't started at all, you can actually start from now. But there are other opportunities that you may want to take a look at as well. And the key lowest common denominator is be globally attractive. And that's what will help you be on this platform, on the eMigr8 platform. It's we're using technology, we're using AI, we're using machine learning, we're using coaches. We're a coaching marketplace also at the end of the day. But ultimately, what we are doing and what we are trying to do is to help you become globally attractive. Because if you are globally attractive, you have options. And so with that being said, I'll come back to our coaches today. Beginner, I'm not sure who wants to take beginner, so I'll just go with each one of the category. Who wants to give some advice to the beginners?
I would say I will do like one general comment that regardless like the category that they are. The point is like being an entrepreneur here in Canada, you need just to understand the sectors, the market itself, like the landscape here. So I would say that regardless like the stage that you are right now, you just need to understand the opportunities that you have available in this market. Now you can find everything online, right? So do your own research, understand exactly like the sector that you are at this point, like the competition and so on. You need to understand the opportunities here, if there are opportunities here for your business and what you are developing. So I would say that market research is the first thing, like regardless the stage that you are, that is something that you need to do in order to understand what is gonna be like your next steps here.
Yeah, and also connect with the relevant people in your field as well. Like you never know who's gonna be, helping you later. So as Marcelo said, regardless of the stage you're in, here at least in Canada, that's why I shared our LinkedIn. LinkedIn it's vital here to network and get to meet new people. And if you're still in Nigeria or in Africa or wherever in the world, it's good to get acquainted with people from Canada. Again, research, like Marceli said, start looking for people related to, I don't know, if you have like a fintech, for instance. Even in our community, we have a fintech that's from Nigeria, Waverlight. So start doing the research, like look for Nigerian or African startups in general that are already succeeding in Canada and in North America. And that's going to be also, to have like a source of inspiration, a source of, if they did it, why not me, right? So that's for all stages. Beginner, of course, it's if you don't have anything yet, it's it's a little push to, if you have an idea, no matter how silly it may sound. Like most of our founders and founders in general are serial entrepreneurs. They fail. It's common to fail. It's good to fail, actually. It teaches you how to move forward. So fail a lot, fail fast. It's always the advice we give to our community, like, because you're gonna fail eventually. Like 100% of people, if you don't fail, well, then that's because you didn't try, right?
Yeah. Right.
For beginners, it's try all the time. For more advanced, yeah, I would say Canada, it's a great place to be. It's a mature market. It's a starting point for your growth, because even though it's a great place, if you want to scale up, you have to go to other markets. Canada, it's a small market. It's 40 million people, but it's close to the States. It has all the resources from the government, from the federal government, provincial and municipal governments. There's a lot of resources, as Tim knows. He lives in Hamilton, actually, which is one of the cities from the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. That's very helpful and part of the bootcamp that we'll have in a couple of weeks. So very collaborative here. If you're thinking about coming, please consider Canada, because it's a great place to grow your business. So that's my advice.
Well, fantastic. And Tim, back to you. So
I
we've covered almost everybody. So if you are ready to apply, I think that's now the ready to apply, and those out of their own country but not yet on the pathway to settlement. So I don't know if you could speak with those two.
So definitely for those categories, what I'll say is you need to take it a step at a time. You know what the end goal is. You need to take it a step at a time. Most times you can't have everything figured out. Just have your plan, have your goal, then take it a step at a time, one by one. Then also, as a lot of people have told you already, the immigration ecosystem in Canada is currently changing a lot. In fact, it changes every 2 weeks. There's one news or the other coming up. So if there's anything you need to do, the opportunity won't wait forever. You need to do it as soon as you are ready. When we did our startup visa, for example, it was a bit easier then, because like she said, you can have as many companies as possible under the same cohort and all that. But right now they've been restricted to 10, for a whole year. Hopefully it gets better, but what if it doesn't get better? So you need to take the opportunity when you have it. Start your planning process now. Start your application now. Applying to LATAM is easy, and at the same time, it's not that easy. You have to, get all the products straight, get the incorporation straight, there are a lot of things you need to do. Just start and take it a step at a time. When we're starting up, there were 3 phases. It was going to take 2 to 3 years. That was a long time. Thinking of that alone, we wouldn't have started, because nobody wants to wait for 3 years before they move to another country or before they start a new life. you know. But if you actually don't start that, in another 3 years, you're going to look back and like, oh, it's 3 years already. If I had done this at that time, probably by now, I'll probably be in Canada or somewhere else, you know. So you need to take it a step at a time and start as soon as you can. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I think those words are like the final words anyway. And what I'll just add to this is just to have a roadmap, have a plan. Don't say that, as Tima was saying as well, don't say that because this plan will take 1 year, you won't start today.
Yeah.
Because believe it or not, in a year's time, you may look back and say, oh, I should have started last year. But then even if you are one of those community members, I speak with a few community members, they come once a year, then they will say, oh, what are they talking about? It's going to take 1 year. Then they come back the next year again. And then, oh, it's going to take 1 year. Then they come back again. Start now. A lot of the things that you need to do, there's a next step that you can actually take based on the back of the things that the coaches today have shared with you. What we would say to you from the eMigr8 community on the eMigr8 platform and also with the eMigr8 app as well is find that lowest step that you need to take and take that step, not tomorrow, maybe take that step today. And with that being said, we want to say a big thank you to everyone. Marcel, thank you so much. JP, thank you so much. And Tim, thank you so much. And for everybody else on the call, eMigr8 team, eMigr8 community members, and even guests in the house at the moment, thank you so much for joining us today. We believe this has been valuable for you. And if it has been valuable, give us feedback. The Global Startups team will like that feedback. We would like that feedback too from an eMigr8 perspective, because part of the reason why we keep doing this month in, month out is because we get those feedback that we are actually adding value. And what we are doing at the moment is scaling that level of value that we've been able to add. So thank you so much, everyone. Do have a good rest of your day, and we appreciate your being here. Thank you.
Thank you,
guys.
Bye. Have a good night.
Keep in touch. Send us a note if you need anything else.